Okay, there we go. It says record. So, take 2 of Celina and Stefano podcast.
Okay. So we can just, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. Because I don't, yeah.
Test.
Oh my God, wow. Yeah.
And boom.
Boom.
It's too loud.
Okay.
And boom, we are live.
We are live.
What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals podcast, episode number 5.
5.
I am your host, Stefano, aka Sensitive Steph. And today...
Sensitive stuff?
Sometimes, depends. Today I got a fantastic guest. I got an unbelievable guest. She is the host of Sunny with a Shot of...
Sunshine.
Say it how you want.
Spritzers, sarcasm.
She is...
all of it.
Probably the most versatile drink connoisseur you'll ever meet in your life.
Oh, yeah.
And she's also my cousin, or my
Cugini.
my Cugi, as she would say. Ladies
My
and gentlemen,
Cugi.
Celina P.
Guys, it's me. Oh my God, you know what? People don't even know that my last name's Pecchia. I swear to God.
So should I have said P?
Oh my gosh.
Let's do a ching ching to start.
Chin.
It's been a long journey. It's been a long process together, and finally, me and Slee are sitting down. So this is more monumental than you guys can understand.
You're right.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Okay, wait. Smell it first. Smell it. Taste it. Smell it. Taste it.
Dude, that's strong.
Okay, I'm gonna taste it too. Little sips. It's a martini. It's supposed to be. It's a martini, but it's not in a martini glass. So you're meant to just do very little sips to enjoy it.
So yeah, well, we're not gonna be shotgunning beers today.
We're not shotgunning martinis.
It's not Saturday.
It's not Saturday.
But of course, when you bring on Celina from A Sunny with a Shot, the podcast, check it out. By the way, I'll drop all the links in the bio. She's gonna bring the flavor. She brings the flavor. We got an
Flavor Town. Welcome to Flavor Town.
Unbelievable drink that she's gonna tell us about right now. Because I usually just have like a socialite or something, but today Celina brought the flavor. So what do we got here, Celina? What is this?
Okay. Steph, we are opening your mind right now to the world of cocktails. And when you came on my podcast, I asked you, I like to make a special drink for every guest that comes on. Yep. And I cater the cocktail to that guest specially. So when you came on, I was like, what do you like to drink? And you said you like to drink shots and beer.
I said that's all I drink because you know what? Unfortunately, sometimes, maybe not all, but some guys, we're not very versatile when it comes to creating drinks. We just just give it to me. We're good.
And that's where I come in.
Exactly. That's where you come in.
That's where I come in.
Yep.
And the best part about our podcast is that not only are we cousins, but our podcasts are cousins.
Yes, they are.
Because you're Couple Casuals and I'm Sunny with a Shot. And together we're taking shots, we're drinking Couple Casuals, we're making cocktails. Just the whole spectrum. Our parents would be so proud, especially our moms who don't drink alcohol. Both of them so proud of us.
But it's like spaghetti and meatballs. It just makes sense. Okay, it goes well, and it works.
It's in our blood, perhaps.
It just makes perfect sense for today. So explain this drink to us because it's fantastic.
Yes. So this is a martini. This is a dessert in a glass. Now, if anybody has watched or listened to episode number 4, I think it was episode number 4 with my friend Natasha, she loves espressos and she also makes killer tiramisu. So this is the tiramisu espresso martini because I know that you love espresso and you love tiramisu. You love your mom's tiramisu.
I loved it. I'm not a sweets guy, but if you put Nutella or tiramisu, as we say, I'll fucking go nuts. And you know what? That's what it reminds me of with like a little bit of the topping.
It's the cocoa and the cinnamon powder on top. So like when you smell it, it smells very like coffee, but very creamy. She put this together
in like guys, when I say the most versatile drink connoisseur in York region, possibly Toronto, I'm serious. Sunny with a Shot of Silly. She knows her stuff when it comes to this. Was like 2 seconds in the kitchen right now, and this is like a fantastic drink. And I'm being straight up honest with you.
Thank you.
Because I'm very one-dimensional when it comes to drinking and getting.
I know. And he's like, I was like, I want to make it in private. Like, don't come by. He's like, Celina, even if I did walk by, I wouldn't even know what the hell you're doing. And I'm like, that's actually true. Like all the liquors that I brought for this, there's no way you're even going to know what the hell they are.
So what are the elements? Like what's inside?
Okay, so I would just want to take another sip because it's so good and I love it.
And guys, if you listen to her, like when she creates these drinks, I'll put the link in the bio for this one specifically. Good. She's so articulate, and I said it on your podcast. I'll say it again. You can taste it as she's explaining it. So fair, but it's good, Celina.
I'll explain this one to you. I'm not going to go into too much detail.
You're not going to go into the zone?
I'm not.
Into the zone.
Should I get into the zone?
This drink.
Enter the zone.
Go for it. Explain what's inside this.
Okay, so this is the tiramisu espresso martini. You are going to start off with a shaker glass full of ice. You are going to add half a shot of espresso, cooled espresso. Let me preface by saying the important part of an espresso martini is you want all of your ingredients to be chilled. And to be honest, I would go as far as saying any martini that you make, or really any drink that you make, if your ingredients are already cold, you're gonna get the maximum flavor of the drink. Because what happens when you put a room temperature liquid and you put ice in it? It waters it down, right? Martinis, there's no ice in the drink. You shake it with ice just to get it super, super cold because you're taking little sips. What is better than taking little sips of an ice cold creamy martini? Mm-hmm. Nothing.
The cool really does give it like a little bit of a zing.
That's what's important here. That's the trick.
That's the
it needs to be
Celina.
So espresso, pre-chilled. All the ingredients I'm going to tell you, pre-chilled. Okay, you make your espresso a few hours before, make it cool down, put it in the fridge. Half a shot of espresso, half a shot of vodka, full shot of Bailey's, full shot of Kahlua. Those are two like creamy coffee liqueurs. Yeah. Then you shake it all together over ice. You're going to strain it out into your martini glass. We used glasses today because honestly, I don't trust us with martini glasses. With how much I flail my arms.
We got to be careful because
no martini glasses.
We're Italian. Italians, they put their hands everywhere.
Too much hands. All the hand
Minimal
gestures.
on top of here. Unless anybody wants to throw a sponsorship. Other than that.
If you're paying us, we'll put you on. If you're not paying us, we're not putting you on the table. That's just the freaking rule.
Might knock it over, but still good for business.
Still good for business. Yes. They're paying us. So if we knock it over, it's worth it.
Next time. Right now, nothing. Just this beautiful.
Nothing.
What is it called? Sorry.
Tiramisu espresso martini.
Perfect.
Yes. Shake it. We're going to pour it into the glass. We're straining it, and we want to get the froth. So, like, just shake it out so you could get that, like, little layer of froth that you see there, that little crema. And then you're going to top it with a little bit of cinnamon powder and a little bit of cocoa powder, and that's the tiramisu espresso martini. Guys, it is such a friggin' hit. Like, everywhere that I make this drink, everybody's like, this is the best espresso martini I've ever had. Now, I don't expect you to have dabbled in a lot of espresso martinis.
Never. This might be one of my first.
You never had one?
No. I'm telling you, when I go there, do you have tequila? Okay, do you have tequila? Do you have vodka?
He's a simple guy.
Vodka 7? Okay, thank you. That's it. I'm being honest with you, but guess what? Because you're my Cugi, I'm expanding my horizons.
You are.
And I'm learning these things. I might not remember the names, but I'll freaking remember the taste, and I'll enjoy the experience.
You'll remember it was a dessert in a glass, and that's really the most important part.
I think that might be the best way of putting it.
A dessert in a glass.
So...
Or as Snooki would say, a blast in a glass.
A blast in a glass.
Do you remember her? Oh my god.
Snooki seems to be a reoccurring theme on this podcast because when we were with the boys and
oh my god, he did bring up Snooki.
When I was Celina, I'm talking about literally relationships and I'm talking about trust, like a serious issue. I'm like, let's talk serious for a second. I'm like, what do you guys think that you could trust somebody after they betray? And he's like, Vince is like, no, but I seen it.
Snooki and Gianni.
Shout out to Vince. We love you, bud. Oh my God.
You know what we have to say to that is don't fall in love at the Jersey Shore. I say it all the time. Like, do not anywhere. Anywhere is the Jersey Shore. Don't fall in love.
And don't fall in love
in Woodbridge. Don't fall in love, period. Don't fall in love in Woodbridge. It's the Jersey Shore here.
No, don't fall in love.
It is the Jersey Shore.
Don't fall in love at Early Mercy. It's a fact.
Oh
it
my
happens,
God,
though.
don't fall in love.
It happens. You might be there.
Don't fall in love on King Street.
Don't fall, but it happens though.
It does happen.
You have to be careful.
How do you not fall in love on King Street? Everybody's amazing and beautiful.
I fell in love a couple times in there, and then Sunday woke up and then wasn't in love anymore. But I did feel I did feel in love. I fell in love a couple times on King Street. You know what I mean?
The drunk goggles were on.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's wild down there. You got to be careful.
Oh my goodness.
100%. But listen, thanks for coming on. I'm so excited.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to do this, guys. Like the journey behind. I think it's very sentimental because me and Slee kind of. It started. I think this is where we start this podcast.
Yes.
Is where we left off on your podcast. Yes. When I came on your podcast,
yes.
we got into some interesting things. We got into relationships. We got into some funny perspectives on dad bods, on a couple things. And then we ended off on our conversation that we had on Christmas, which kind of blossomed into this podcast experiences that we're both going through similarly at the same timeline, which is so interesting and so cool. So I think it's great if we start where we left off.
Yeah.
Let's pick up where we left off. So that conversation that we had, we've always been, you know, I'm not going to say the delinquents of the family, but like the troublemakers. We're a little bit of the troublemakers. You know, we like a good laugh and a couple of drinks. We like a good laugh. We like a couple of drinks, but it kind of is now. It's kind of you see it now through the podcast and like these creative pursuits. It really exacerbates our personality. So let's start there, Celina. Let's talk about that conversation, and then we'll kind of navigate through it and like the whole startup of the podcast. So.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say as well, I was so excited to obviously be a part of your podcast. Like, no doubt. Happy to be the first female. You were the first male on mine. So happy about that as well. And it would be a disgraziata if you did it, which I already told you.
I would never do it.
Like, don't be a disgraziata to my family and my culture. Like, just don't.
So, you know what? For the people that don't know what disgraziati means, Celina has to explain it in her amazing Italian lingo, the kind of characteristic voice that she has.
So another part of my podcast that a lot of people have recognized is that I put a lot of Italian slurs in there, and it really hits home for people that are Italian and are not, that like recognize them. But anyways, disgraziata means a disgrace. And I've definitely heard that term being said around the table when we were younger and we were delinquents and we were just a bunch of disgraziatas.
Yeah, pretty much.
But now I wear it like a badge of honor.
You have to. You know what I mean? You wear it on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And that's where, that's where the confidence comes from, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I'm a disgraziata. I'm proud.
Depends on what day. But maybe the Friday, Saturday, you might be a disgraziata for a second.
When you're on a bender. When you're on a bender, you're definitely a disgraziata.
And then scary Sundays come around. You think about your life for a second, and then back to work on Monday. Always back to work on Monday.
Always back to work.
Let's start at that conversation. That conversation that we had, because it was pivotal for me. I don't know if it was for you, but for me to be able to, because it basically, we were together for, what was it, Christmas?
Yes.
I think it was Christmas. And then I don't know how, we started talking about like making videos and stuff.
And you know what's so special about that conversation is like, I don't think we have like that real of conversations with our family. Like usually it's like shooting the shit, but this time it was like, for some reason, a flip went off and me and you just went like super in depth about like podcasts and like putting yourself out there and like putting out content and like being a content creator. And like, I don't think we ever knew it, but especially you, like ever since you were young, you were always a content creator before like content creators were named content creators.
That. I seriously appreciate
like,
that.
This guy was always putting out videos. Like and we've probably talked about this 100 freaking times, but like me and my sister used to record Stefano doing crazy shit. And like he would like do like pranks or like mainly self-harm videos.
Well, let's call it stunts, okay? Like I'd be like, Celina, Julia, they're coming over. Maybe we'd scam some people on Habbo Hotel for a second. Fernie. And then after, I'd be like, guys, take my Motorola Razr and film me jump off this my porch in the back, like film me punch. And then my mom one time came out.
She came running out. It was like thunderstorming, and this guy was standing on the top of like the porch fence area. And the trampoline was below it, and he was holding this ginormous umbrella.
I was doing the Mary Poppins.
He was Mary Poppins, that shit, and he was about to jump off, and his mom came running out, Stefano! Like, I will never forget her saying your name exactly like that. And that was our whole childhood. It was always you doing crazy shit, me and Julia videotaping it.
But yeah, we always loved just being silly, being in front of the camera, creating. I think I was more interested in like the video camera, because I remember when we were younger, my dad used to have that big old video camera, which I still have, and he'd be like walking around like family events, filming, and then I'd want to be in front of it.
Yes, and you wanted to be in front of it.
And then we would watch these videos after, as I was a kid. Maybe I can put up some videos of when I was a kid to show you guys what I'm talking about. But then I would be like so amazed. I'd be like, wow,
that was me there.
Yeah.
Like it's technology, and it's like we're fascinated with it.
I'm
and
so
like
fascinated with it.
And because we grew up on it, it's like it's so second nature to us. But now I see like how obsessed my dad is with every technology advancement. The freaking those cameras that you put on your doorbell.
Oh, those are legit.
What are those called? The ring, the O-ring,
yeah.
the O-ring. Every dad is obsessed with the camera on the doorbell. Like they'll zoom in, they'll send you pictures of you watering the grass. Like they are obsessed. All my friends that I talk to, they're like, my dad spent an hour watching a spider build a web in front of the O-ring last night.
And you get some funny videos every once in a while from there too, by the way.
I just dance in front of my friends.
You gotta troll a bit. You gotta troll a bit. I'll like flash it and stuff when I go to like when I'm like with my
flash a nipple like super quick.
Drop a quick nip slip, you know what I mean? But and then watch it back after.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
circling
back for a sec. So then the conversation that we had was a very it was like unusual kind of like.
We were talking about like modern like content creation.
And then taking a trip down memory lane as well, which it kind of manifested into a conversation where kind of me and Celina were like, yo, me too, yo, me too, yo, me too.
Yes, it was a me too.
Yeah.
We were like, wait, you feel that way? And I'm like, I feel that way. And we both just agreed that like we have all these creative and all this energy inside of our brains and all these ideas of what we want to do and like what we want to explore. And like there was just this kind of fear of taking that next step, I think. And we were just agreeing on it, and we were just talking about how like fortunately like with this type of world, like you have to go all in. It is all in. It is, if you want to be putting out content, that is now your identity. And that is a scary step to take because you are this isn't a company that you can just run behind the scenes and nobody knows that it was you. Yeah. If you are creating content, you are the face of that content, that is now you. And that is it was such a big hurdle.
It's a double-edged sword because it's your identity as well, but then it's also intimidating.
Yeah.
Which we're going to unpack that a bit further. But let's just finish that whole transition. So then we both had that conversation. We came to that realization. And then we followed up, which I have some interesting footage of us in this exact room before it existed, doing a little bit of a trial run. That was my first time ever doing a podcast. And I was so excited. And Celina kind of showed me the ropes. Yeah. And it blossomed.
And that was before I even had put out my podcast. Right. I had the equipment. I was marinating on the idea. I hadn't put anything out yet, but it was a work in progress. And I had all the equipment, and I said, Steph, I love how you shared that with us at Christmas. If you want to test it out and just like see a little bit of how it goes and feel it out a little, I have the equipment. Let's bring it to your condo. Let's set it up and let's do like a little shooting the shit test episode. And that's what we did.
And that's how it started, because who knows, like if you didn't send that follow up, maybe those feelings and those conversations I was having within my head would have just lingered away anyways, because what it is
it wouldn't have lingered. It does not linger.
But you kind of were like,
pulled that out of you?
You were kind of like, yo, let's go try it out. And then I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And then we did it. And then I'm like, yo, like let's continue this. Let's figure it out.
Tell me if you agree. For me, these thoughts of me doing a podcast had lingered for years. And I always tried to suppress it. I always tried to do a different hobby or do a different thing that would distract me from that thing that I really, really wanted to do. Yeah. And that conversation was also so pivotal for me as well, because I'm like, wow, I don't really have anybody else in my life that's experiencing these same feelings and thoughts that I am in this like creative space, putting yourself out there space, making that leap of faith space. Yep. And that conversation was so effective for me as well. And I'm telling you, those feelings would have never went away. It might have taken you longer. Yeah. It just maybe would have taken you a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. But you would have always dabbled around this thought that you wanted to do it. If anything, I expedited the process.
100%. Yeah. I mean, linger in a bad way, like I would have just procrastinated. That's what I mean. Like, so that conversation was kind of like, it was at a good time. And it just goes to show the importance of just expressing yourself in that sort of way, guys. And look what she just said. Like, you didn't have anybody in your life, and we're cousins. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And we're very similar in personalities, and I think our sisters are very similar in personalities, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, it was that conversation that kind of blossomed into these certain things, and then I was like, let's start creating. And then now I think that's where we should talk about like the startup process of the podcast.
Oh my goodness. Because you mean all the voice notes?
Oh my God.
What you're talking about?
Thank God you brought that up, because guys, the only time I used voice notes was to send my friends like stupid things, or maybe like fart noises or stupid voice notes. But then Celina showed me that we can actually use it to communicate. I'm like, awesome, let's do that.
Wait a minute, it's actually a productive tool. I didn't know that. Yes.
No clue.
So pretty much we did that episode together.
Right.
And it was just a test episode. We were talking about Tony's Ballroom shout out, which I would love to talk about again.
I would love to talk about Tony's Ballroom.
We're going to skip over that now and maybe we'll circle back.
Is that we have so many things to talk about that we have to walk it back every 10 seconds.
I know, no, literally.
Yeah.
And we're like, circle back because...
We might have to jot down like, okay, we're here.
Do I have to take notes?
Branch off and come back.
Should we have made a tree?
We should have made a chart.
A chart.
And then be like, this is the main topics, and then these are all the umbrella topics, which
subtopics.
We'll be here for hours, and we know you guys have no patience.
Did we not prepare enough? Should we have made a Bristol board maybe in the background that we could have referred to it?
Maybe we should have. I tell you what I did do is make some notes on my notepad, just a couple of talking points. But you know what? I think this drink will linger us through. The espresso martini will linger us through, and we'll find our way back.
We'll find our way back. Tony's Ballroom will always come back. Always.
It's so tempting to just go back.
Oh my God, it's so tempting to talk about it. But if you guys wait, we're gonna tell you about Tony's Ballroom. So just wait, and we'll get back there.
Okay.
So. Then we did the test episode and we had a lot of fun and it was a great experience for both of us. I dipped my toes in getting kind of back into it. And then that was your first experience. You saw the setup, the sound. I knew a lot of stuff. I had so much knowledge about looking into audio and video and levels and this and that. I had to teach everything to myself. And hey guys, there's so many resources out there right now. There's so much stuff on YouTube. And that's what we would do like every single week. There was a point we were talking every single day, just sending each other resources. Look at this camera, look at this microphone. They're comparing these two microphones. Like the amount of stuff that we had to learn on our own, it was like just wild. Like I am not a technical person,
but you can be. If
you had to put in the work and like if you want it bad enough, you will learn those things because it's important to you.
100%. And I think that's where that's kind of where we begin with this whole like starting up a podcast, for example. And this can apply for many things that you do, but
preparation.
100%. You have to prepare. So let's say you have something that you want to do. You want to start a podcast. Okay. So you get a pen and paper, literally sit down and start listing all the things that you need to do to create that podcast. You're going to have to learn all the intricate things that are going involved with it. Like we run our own podcast, so we're having to edit and do all these sorts of things, but you need a microphone, you need a camera if you want to make it a video. And then you need your XLR cables, your SD cards, and all these other like things that come along with it that you'll learn just by using these resources. But you needed I think the key point to take away from it, Celia, is you need to dedicate the time to it. It was like a monthly, like it was a monthly process.
This went on for months. You were not putting and set those own expectations in your head. Whenever you start anything, I've said it before, I'll say it again, just anticipate that everything costs you 3 times as much as you thought and takes 3 times as long as you thought.
Wow, that's very good.
Start off with that.
Yep, that's
literally
very good.
Start with that. Be like, I want to do this thing. Your ambition in your mind is moving so much quicker than what you're actually capable of.
Yep.
And don't let that discourage you. Let that encourage you. You have a lot of ideas. This is great. Write it down and just understand I set this timeline for myself, but I'm going to be realistic and I'm going to give myself wiggle room, and I know it's going to take 3 times as long and it's going to cost 3 times as much, because it did. And we learned that too.
100%.
You thought that you could turn over making a podcast in a month. Yeah, okay. It took us like 5 months.
Well, technically you could, but it depends on how you want to, what kind of product, so to speak, you want to have. And I think there's a lot of good things that you brought up there. And I think one of the main things is, which you even talked to me about before, which we'll get into now, is break it. So you have like a big goal, right? You have a big goal that you want to do. Break it down into smaller goals. Even let's use exercising, for example, because I like exercising. I like working out every once in a while.
No,
so, yeah,
I don't believe it.
Just a tad.
I don't believe it.
I do.
I don't believe it.
Just a tad. But if you want to exercise, let's say, don't overwhelm yourself. Start small. So even with like a goal, like a podcast, start small. Put like a little couple duties that are realistic to achieve, and then start to build. Which,
oh my God, yes. I remember I even told you that. I was like, in your schedule, like plan out your weekly schedule and give yourself like an hour, like pre-decide. I want to give myself an hour every single day just to do research, because you're not just getting a mic and starting to talk. No. There is so many working parts in any project that you do. So preparation and research is essential, but time is essential. Give yourself the time. If it's important to you, you will put it in your schedule. Get a calendar.
That's what it is. It's effort.
Write it in your calendar. And like, you might not even make big moves that week. You might get down to it and be like, okay, you know what? I don't have the energy to actually put like creative ideas down, but instead I'm going to dedicate my energy to educating myself on which camera I should go with, which microphone. Guys, everything is research. Put in the time. That's what it is. It's time, it's effort, but it's also what you want it to be. Because there's services out there that do this for you. So know what you're good at. Another thing I always say is, do you have more time or do you have more money? And the simple answer is, I have neither. That is the simple answer.
Well, I don't have time.
I don't have time. I don't have money. Like, you know, like just like
okay.
Typical talk. I don't have time. I don't have money.
It's like a procrastinating.
But no. Let's think about it. What do you actually have more of? If you have more money, then you could pay somebody to do all this shit for
100%, you could.
They'll make you a setup. You could get the best of the best, or you could pay a service. There are podcasting services where they produce everything for you.
Or Fiverr, by the way, which was a hell of a good help.
Hell of a resource.
Hell of a good help.
Right? And that's like a more affordable way to get a lot of services done. But like, you could actually simplify a lot of things that you do in this world if you just look into it and you do the research.
And be patient.
Or
be patient.
Do you have patience?
Yeah.
Do you have more time?
Right.
Time, if you have more time, then that means you're going to be doing a lot of the work yourself. So I made that decision. I'm like, you know what? I would rather invest more time into this because I actually see value in learning all the working parts of this.
It's a skill set.
I see value. I want to know this is an investment long term. That's what I saw it as. I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my podcast by me knowing how to listen and balance out the audio levels on my own
100%.
instead of have somebody there for me all the time. So that's your decision. At the end of the day, at the end of every project that you're going to do you have more time? Do you have more money? This applies to traveling. This applies to everything. When I was backpacking around the world, I made the decision. I said, guys, do we have more time or do we have more money? With the times that we had more time, then we didn't have to spend as much because we could do a boat, a ferry ride instead of a plane ride, which was more expensive. We could take a bus or a train instead of a plane, which was more expensive. When we had less time, but we had more money, then money's on the table. We're doing everything really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
So that's your decision at the end of the day. That's what I've seen work out for me in every single, make that decision and decide what works for you. Because what works for me and Stefano of us wanting to learn everything on our own doesn't mean that that's what you have to do. You could pay a service. Know your talents, know what you're good at, and know what you're willing to invest your time in.
And that's going to be it's going to be a learning experience once you start to do whatever it is that you do. And that's the other thing about doing these sorts of creative pursuits or whatever it is that you're doing is you're going to fucking learn something about yourself. You're going to learn something about yourself. So I'm sure there's millions of things that we can start to unpack for people that we've learned throughout that process.
Oh my God, so much about ourselves.
So much. So that in itself is the goal. That's the goal. Learning about yourself, getting better as an individual, putting a challenge in front of yourself. And if it's something that you're yearning to do, try it. Try it because you don't know what can happen from it. Maybe something, you can monetize it in a way, or maybe you just learn something about yourself. Like, don't you feel you became a better communicator? You're able to problem solve a little bit better. These things you're taking on an abundance
100%.
of things.
Do you remember when we first, we were talking about editing software?
Oh, yes,
oh
of
my
course.
God, guys. Software?
Adobe Premiere.
Shout out. We ended up deciding that was the one that we were both going to use.
I love it, by the way.
Now that we know it.
Yeah.
But when we first saw it, I was like, whatever happened? Do you remember when we used to have Windows computers and there was Windows Movie Maker?
Yeah.
What happened?
I loved Windows Movie Maker.
I used to, oh my God, Cancun 2013 after movie, Punta Cana S Trip after movie, which is probably still on YouTube and probably needs to be taken down.
Yeah.
Anyways,
let's drop the link. I'll drop that link in the bio.
Oh God.
Check it out.
When we first got this software, we're like, holy crap, this is so advanced. I don't, like, this is gibberish to me. I don't know what is going on. And what we both reminded ourselves of in those moments was, I prove it to myself every single time that it's hard for right now, but I'm going to do it the day after, and I'm going to learn a little more, and I'm going to learn a little more. And now we're friggin' pros. Hire me for a Hollywood friggin' movie.
I'm not a pro yet.
And I'm going to do... No, I can't say I'm a pro.
Yeah,
but like, honestly, Martin Scorsese, come at me.
Yeah, like, we
come
can
at
help.
me.
We could, like...
I don't even think he edits video, but, like, get me on that shit.
Possibly an internship, opportunities.
Get me to Hollywood.
Just throw me and Celia in there. You know, we might...
Get us in there.
We might be drinking on the job.
We're semi-pros.
We'll get it done. We'll get it done.
And
there's... You know what? There's the opportunities are damn near endless. After you have a couple of drinks, you start feeling good, and these things happen. But Adobe Premiere is very useful, and I've gotten a lot better at it. And I think that's the speed bump that you're going to encounter when you're creating things.
There's going to be all kinds of stuff that
you're
going to
run into this shit, guys. But I think that's where it kind of was. We started to explore that within ourselves. And we needed to do it.
And speaking on that, I think we were both the type of people that looked at our lives and were like, no. I know in my soul that there is more, that I want more for myself.
I want to do.
I want to do something more. I want to create something. I want to provide something. We naturally, when we show up to events or social settings or like whatever, like we're kind of like the people that brings the crew together and like hypes everybody up and gets everybody excited. Like, we're natural entertainers. I will embarrass myself at the expense of other people's entertainment. That is just the person that I am.
That's comedy 101 though. It is.
Exactly. Like, I would rather embarrass myself so that everybody else can have a good time just watching it.
It's energy. You bring the energy to the table.
We both, and so if you are something like that and you resonate with what we are saying right now, it's not for everybody. We're not saying everybody's going to do a podcast.
These apply to everything. But if you have
this feeling that you're like, there's this voice and I can't ignore it, and I know that there's something more that I need to do and I need to explore, and it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back, and I try to distract myself, but it keeps coming back. Just do it.
Try. You have to try.
You just have to do it. You just have to put yourself out there, because the opportunities come when you put yourself out there. Oh, Stefano, podcast, couple casuals, drinking, interviews, opportunities.
And then everything that you're going to learn about
opportunities.
And that endeavor, so to speak, is just going to contribute to your character. And I think character, in my opinion,
that's
is
your
paramount.
thing.
That's my thing. I think that's important, because when you're doing these things, okay, you're exploring and you're going down these different avenues, whatever it is, podcasting, athletics, whatever, dude, literally whatever. You're going to learn something about yourself. And I think that's the most sustainable and most useful thing that we could take away from this. Now, in regards to putting together your podcast, talk about a little bit about how you came up with the idea and like how you added the elements of like the drinks and stuff, because you're obviously very good at it and you know a thing or two about creating drinks and stuff like that. So take us through that, because I don't even really, I sort of know, but I'd like to know.
And you know what? You were a part of those conversations too.
I was, yeah.
So
at the beginning,
I'm
because it was like,
so happy that we're talking about podcasting, because in my podcast I've never talked about podcasting,
and it's useful for people. I remember on YouTube like typing in like how to start a podcast.
Yeah.
So maybe one random guy, what's up, random guy or random girl?
Hey,
you can do it, bud. Just give it a go.
Just give it a go.
Just take a wild walk on the wild side.
That's what we did. We took a walk on the wild side. We just threw ourselves in. We didn't have any people around us that were close to us that did a podcast that we were like, give us the guidebook. Yeah. We are still learning, and we will always be learning. Always. And that's what's important about not moving too quickly. That's what I realized.
Because that's one thing that you wanted to talk about, right?
That was something I wanted to talk about. In your mind, you are so ahead of yourself. In my mind, my podcast is freaking 2 years old and I'm delivering a TED Talk on stage. Like, that's where I am mentally because of all the ideas. Like, as of right now, I have a talk show. I have a talk show on some network. That's what I'm doing mentally.
You should journal as well, because that helps you articulate your thoughts.
Oh my goodness, I always do. I'm a big journaler.
Good.
And mentally, I am so ahead of myself of what you see. So when you look at what me and Stefano have put out there, you guys are like, wow, this is amazing. Look at what you're doing. But for us, we look at it like, but I have so much in my head. And if I wanted to actually execute everything that I wanted to do in the timeline that I think I could do it, I need a team. I need a freaking village.
And that's there.
To do all this stuff.
It's there.
But time and giving yourself some wiggle room is also very important. Rome was not built in a day, and we know that. And the reason why Rome was not built in a day is because feedback is very important. every single episode or every single thing that you put out in your brand, there is a level of feedback, right? And then you pivot. The next episode, 5 episodes down the line, you try something different. My podcast, every single week, I try something slightly different.
Good.
There's a few things that stay the same. The cocktail segment 100%. Is the same. My Sunday school, which is my way of giving people takeaways, like a good health and wellness little bit to go on your week, and it's always a different topic. Those are the 2 things that stay the same because those are important to me. Those are my non-negotiables. That's what I want people to leave with, the value. That value is always going to be there. That I want you to leave with. That's the consistency.
The beautiful thing about that creative process is that
character.
That's your element of your character being splashed on.
It always come back to character.
It's important being splashed on, and it's adding your own flavor. So that's what's cool about it. I think that's so interesting. But yeah.
So taking your time is so important because my podcast has evolved so much from when it started. My initial idea of what I thought it was going to be, has pivoted. The structure of how I conduct my episodes has pivoted and has changed. And that's going to be the same for you. And that's going to be the same for everybody. You start with this one idea. You think it's great, but you need that patience. You need that opportunity to get some feedback in and to see what's working for people and what's not working. And that's when you take the risks. And I love taking risks. I love coming up with a new idea. And the next week, I'm like, I'm going to try this topic out, this style out, this guest out. Every single episode brings something different, and that's the point.
And this is what I wanted to add to that too. Just when you're doing something like creating a podcast, the first thing you got to do is just get that shit out of your head with what people think about you, right?
Oh, drop it.
Drop that. What is this person going to think about me? What is it? Get that out of your way right there. That as soon as you get that out of your way, then even in life, it's everything is going to translate better for you. It's going to manifest, blossom much, much better for you. Now that can be a lengthy process within itself. So get at it. That's my piece of advice in it. But then you started to see that you have to be patient, find the pivotal moments, and then how did you start to create the brand? Like how did it start to come to your head? How did you go through that process?
So to branch off of what you just said, I completely agree that the hardest part for me was what I thought people were going to think. That was the biggest hurdle.
100%.
It was what I thought was going to happen. And then once I started, that is actually the least, what people think does not even faze me anymore. Like that is, once I actually started and got my first couple of episodes out, now my episodes are actually not about anybody else. They're about what I want to talk about and my relationship with that guest and what I think I want the guest to talk about, what I want their story to be shared. Everything is authentic to me now. And at the beginning, I found that I would fall back into this thought pattern that I looked at what everybody else was doing well. And I thought, okay, well, if I have a podcast, then it needs to look like this. It needs to look like Call Her Daddy because that's successful. It needs to look like Joe Rogan because that's successful. It needs to look like Jay Shetty because that's successful. But at the end of the day, they're successful because that's their character.
Oh my God.
Guys, it's back to character.
Wow,
that's
let's make
their
t-shirts.
character. And if you're not actually being authentic to what's important to you, then it's never going to catch.
People won't appreciate it.
You can't just rip off somebody else's idea and try to do it because that's not you. So that's a little sprinkle of that.
100%.
That's a little sprinkle, but I know that
Flavor.
I keep dodging around my own Sunny with a Shot. So now we're finally going to get into what is Sunny with a Shot of Sarcasm.
And how did you create it? And where those ideas? How did you navigate through those ideas?
I'm so happy we're having this. I've never talked about my own podcast on my pod for obvious reasons, but I mean,
like we
could
talk about millions of things, but I think that this is something
my
that's
story.
useful and
It's my story.
And it makes sense because of where we kind of came from and how this kind of all came
and
about.
how you've assisted with it too.
Yeah, and likewise.
My friends, my family. When I started the idea for my podcast, it was very hush-hush. And the reason for that was because I didn't want anybody's opinions clouding my judgment. And that was a big piece of advice that I gave you. I said, work in silence. Because if you are very certain about what you're doing, work in silence so that people's opinions aren't clouding what you think is right. Because at the end of the day, trust your gut, trust your intuition. If it feels right, then do it. Yes, collect feedback down the line. But in the beginning stages, I feel like you're very vulnerable to feedback. And I think vulnerability is going to set you back so much from doing the things you want to do. So that being said, I worked in silence. I came up with the idea, Sunny with a Chance of Sarcasm, which was a spin-off of people just saying like, Sunny with a chance of this, you know, Sunny with a chance of clouds, Sunny with a chance of meatballs, or Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, that kids movie. Like, it's just a common saying that I've always heard. And I'm a big, like, I like doing plays on words. Any of my businesses that I've helped my friends with, I always mix in a play on words that people will recognize. So that's my thing, because I like clever things. I like people to be like, like, it's clever. So Sunny, that was like sunny, good, positive vibes. That was that aspect. Sarcasm, because I just personally think I'm very sarcastic, and that's my humor. I'm just a part of your character. It's my guy's character. Can you just name this episode character?
I might. Oh, it's going to be a buzzword for sure. Of
character.
Course.
#character.
These things are important. Okay.
Character. No, character is literally everything. Character is you.
Well, when you die, your valuables are not coming with you, but guess what's living on?
Your character.
Yeah. They're going to talk about it. Like, that Celina was a sarcastic, funny, amazing, drink connoisseur, unbelievable individual. That's what they're going to say. They're gonna reflect your character. But let's not.
Okay. Oh my God. Look at us. Should be Tony's Ballroom. No, I'm kidding.
Tony's Ballroom was a banquet hall, by the way, guys. We'll talk about it in a second.
No, don't get into it. I'm too excited to talk about Tony's Ballroom. Hold on.
Let's finish the podcast and then we'll segue into.
We're gonna segue.
The next
don't worry. It's gonna get exciting. So. Sunny vibes, play on words, chance of sarcasm. But as I marinated on it, I was like, bartending is such a like big thing of my life. And I think what I realized about bartending that I love is not only because I feel badass to bang out cocktails as quickly and cool as I do, and make like people be like super impressed with what they're 100%. Drinking and be like, wow. Like, that is definitely a part of it. But I think what I love is the hospitality behind bartending. And that's what we learned from our moms, is hospitality. That's why when I came in this condo, you insisted that I put on slippers. It's hospitality.
Guys, people need to like show some respect to slippers, okay? Because I feel like they're underappreciated. Like, nobody wears slippers anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned. I don't know.
You are old-fashioned. A little.
I might be a little old-fashioned.
Half and half.
I think mezzo, is that what it's called?
I was just going to say mezzo.
A little bit.
Yes, a little bit. Okay. Anyways, so I had to find a way to combine the bartending that I loved and the podcast. And that is how the idea evolved. You know, I talked to my sister kind of knew about it, didn't really tell my friends about it. And she's like, why don't you incorporate, like, instead of doing chance of sarcasm, she's like, why don't you do like a word that involves drinking? And then that's how we came up with shot. Because when you're assembling a drink, you're always putting a shot of something into it. So that's how that idea flourished. And actually, did I ever tell you the story about the yellow sunglasses?
No.
So the way I wanted a signature staple item that people would recognize, I was really into the branding of my podcast, and it was very, very well orchestrated. For me, it was the big yellow daisy sunflower sunglasses. Which is
awesome, man.
And now that's my staple signature thing, and that's also a really cool thing that I can add into here about branding as well, is that like, that was the way that I branded my podcast. I wanted a signature thing that was going to tie in all the guests to the brand. So all of my guests wear these big, bright yellow sunglasses, and there's always a signature drink every single week.
Which I'll throw up a couple pictures.
So that's how the idea evolved. In terms of what the podcast is about, like you've experienced yourself, every guest brings something different, right?
You're always figuring that out. Like, that's a process that you're going to learn as you go. But honestly, like, this whole process has just been something that's so interesting, and that I feel like I learned so much about myself. And if anybody is questioning or considering doing something that's out of the ordinary, or wanting to try something, fucking do it, and just try. And I think that helps us. Like, we're about an hour in, so I think I want to transition into the final segment of Couple Casuals podcast, which is a little bit of my flavor, my purpose, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's called Salute.
Yes.
You're familiar with it? Salute is the final segment on Couple.
Wait a minute. No. We have to talk about Tony's Ballroom.
You want to talk about Tony's Ballroom?
Please, really quickly.
Okay. Let's talk about Tony's Ballroom, then we'll go to Salute.
Really quickly, guys. We've teased you about Tony's Ballroom 100 times. Tony's Ballroom was a ghetto, fabulous not ballroom, that was the name, but
it's
it was
a banquet hall.
A banquet hall.
Yeah.
And all of our families, when we were growing up, they did all of the events there. And that was all of our childhood memories. It was Tony's Ballroom for Christmas, for Valentine's Day, for all the big events, for the weddings, everything like that. And every year on Christmas, Santa Claus came. Santa's coming to town.
And one year, we knew who the Santa was. Well, at least I did. I remember this.
I think we knew who the Santa was every year because we would like pull off their wig and like their beard and stuff. First of all, let's preface, the Santa was usually intoxicated.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of drinks, not a big deal. Just like, it's part of the family.
The Santa had a couple casuals.
That's what it was. But
the Santa had a couple too many casuals.
There was one year at the Tony's Ballroom. Tony's Ballroom, everybody went there, banquet hall. Everybody loved it. We see all their family members there all the time. It's not there anymore. RIP Tony's Ballroom. But there was one year, it was Christmas, and I knew who the Santa was. It was my dad. It was my dad. I went around to everybody, and I was pissed. And I was like, Celina, I know who Santa is. It's my dad. And I was telling everybody, just giving him up. And he's like trying to play cool and stuff. And I'm just so upset. Like, Santa's not real, and it's my dad right now.
This is all a fugazi.
It's a fugazi. That's
You're
exactly what it is.
You're disgraziata, Santa
Claus. What the hell, man? I'm pissed. And I kind of did blow the cover, but that was Tony's Ballroom. You don't know what's gonna happen at Tony's Ballroom. First thing I would do when I ran into Tony's Ballroom, first thing my mom would tell me not to do not ruin your pants and slide on the dance floor. Guess what I did as a young lad? I just, as soon as I get there, run full speed on the dance floor, rip my whole pants probably right on the knees, and then the rest. You just want to have fun. That's what we did when we were kids.
Yeah,
you want to have fun.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things we ever talked about in the podcast setting was Tony's Ballroom, which maybe I can figure out a way to slide it in there a bit. Yeah. And we talked about a couple other funny things that day too. But
yeah, I think you got to flashback to the footage because this all looked so different back then.
100%. I'm gonna have fun editing it. Trust me, it's gonna. I got all that footage, which that's why I love about recording. But is there anything else you want to say about Tony's Ballroom, Celina?
No.
We're good?
Let's salute it.
Okay, we're gonna transition into the final segment, a couple casuals.
I wish
podcast.
I prepared on this.
You're on the spot. She's on the spot, guys. We're gonna test her character.
God, I should have known that you were gonna do this too. I don't know. I'm an amateur.
Well, I'll give you a second.
I didn't do homework. I did not do homework.
I'll give my intro here to so on the final segment of Couple Casuals podcast, we do salute. Salute is when the guest, it gives the time for the guest. They don't have to prepare something. They can think of it on the spot. So I like to give a couple seconds to the guest to let them talk about something meaningful for them, maybe something they want to salute or cheers to, as they would say. So Celine, the floor is yours. What do you want to salute it to?
Okay, can I have a second to think?
Let's start the timer. There's so many things just reflect on what we talked about today.
I feel like my salute would be something to just encompass everything that we talked about.
Fair enough.
I think what I want, yes, I am going to raise my glass. I think what I want everybody to know is to live your truth. And I know that we hear that so much, but when you actually do it and when you actually take that leap of faith and you do something that's authentic to you, your every single day of your life will be an exciting one. So if you have this little voice in your head where you're like, no, there's something that I want to do and I can't ignore it, go do that thing. I would rather take that risk and do the thing that I wanted to do because it's more of a risk to live my life not doing that.
Wow.
And also, cheers to fucking Tony's Ballroom. Oh my God, I swore. I don't swear. Cheers.
Okay, salute, guys. That was fantastic, by the way. Celine, thank you. I appreciate you. This was a special one for me, honestly, because without you, I don't know if I would have maybe took that leap of faith or maybe it would have took me a whole lot longer. So I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the support. Like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. Celine, tell them where to find you quick. Tell them where to find your podcast.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so my podcast is called Sunny with a Shot of Sarcasm. But if you want to find the Instagram handle, it's at Sunny with a Shot. That is the overall brand. I have my cocktail videos on there. I have my whole link tree with all my links. So you can go to my YouTube channel where you see all the cocktail videos. You can go to listen to it on Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcasts. And also, I just wanted to say, Stefano, thank you so much for having me on. This is so special. Like you said, it's amazing to see everything come full circle. I feel the same way. Wow, we did this together.
It was a thought that became something.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Like, subscribe, give her a follow, check her out. She posts pretty frequently, so you'll be able to see all the content. I appreciate you guys. I love you, nobody else. Until next time.
Bye.
Salute.
Salute.